One thing about Fisk that so many don't remember or is usually lost in translation along the way is about Fisk being the very first institution of higher education in Nashville. It's the very first one. So, if you have never graced the threshold of Fisk University, and I'm still surprised at the number of people that share that, please call me.
Dr. Agenia Clark did not take a traditional path to becoming the president of Fisk University. She's worked in media, the corporate world, government, and the nonprofit sector. She got an MBA and was well on her way to launching a tech startup. Then she got the phone call asking whether she'd be interested in leading one of Nashville's most storied institutions. A little more than a year into that job, she's never been more excited about the school's future. But she also understands what makes Fisk such a special place, and she's got no plans to mess with that. I'm Demetria Kalodimos. It's Banner and Company. Well, you were an early morning local news anchor.
Uh-huh.
I had no idea.
Neither did I. And it's so fascinating because that was one of those careers that wasn't meant for me.
And was that quickly evident?
It was evident from the very first time WBIR TV in Knoxville put me on air. I never wanted to do it to start with. I had started with them working in the newsroom, but as a newsroom assignment editor. I loved that work. I loved looking at what all the options were for the day. I loved looking at all the talent in the room and deciding this person is more suited for this sort of space, this one more suited for that type of assignment. I really liked the work element of it. And as you know, this can happen in newsrooms. Something happened one day, and the news director said, we need you to fill in. And I remember thinking, fill in for what? I mean, this is my job. I love my job. So I ended up having a very interesting, on-air fill-in assignment. Then I was asked to fill in again. He was like, you're not the worst at this, but we can work with you and make you better. And I was like, well, that's not what I want to do. So I progressed to being the early morning news co-anchor, and that's when I knew I'm not cut out for this.
Well, the hours are killer anyway. I never worked mornings my entire career because it would have been over in 1 week had I been assigned to mornings.
I love the hours. I am still an early morning person, still to this day. But for me, I just really liked the work side of life, not the on-air part of it. And I was out on a news assignment one day, and I had to interview the dean of the School of Business at the university. And we wrapped up our interview, and he was like, you're so good at this. And I literally sat there and started crying. And I said, thank you so very much, but this isn't what I want to do. He goes, well, what do you want to do? I said, I do not know, but this isn't it. He goes, well, come back to school, get an MBA. He said, that's a great way to transition from one career to another. And I was like, what all is involved? And I stayed in touch with him. He became my dean. And I had the best time going back to school and working on my MBA.
And that felt right.
It felt right. It felt like, oh, finally someone is giving me some good advice. It felt like I could live and operate in this space all day, every day. And I was able to kind of carve out areas of interest and take classes in them, and really enjoy just that whole statistical analysis and why does that matter when you're really trying to get data to help you come to a conclusion. It was just how I worked, and it was just a space that I had the most fun in, and that's what happened. The beauty of it, though, is that I had to identify internship opportunities to just sort of, and that to me is where the real opportunity came in because I could transition from one career space now and completely look at another career space. So it was doing summer internships in corporations that really helped me realize this is where I want to be.
I was reading your CV, and you've got some really interesting stops along the way.
Yeah.
The Tennessee Lottery, Pepsi Cola,
Yeah.
Vanderbilt University. I mean, did you do different things in all those places?
So again, going back to the television experience, I never really knew what I wanted to do. I was able to quickly ascertain what I don't want to do.
And sometimes that's more important.
It is. And you end up having more fun along the way. I so admire people who are born knowing what they want to do. I have never been that linear. However, if something sounded interesting or fascinating, I'm willing to give it a try. So it has been one of those careers that has not been linear, but I will say, even starting with the role and as a newsroom assignment editor, each have given me excellent tools to prepare me for where I've landed this time.
Most famously in Nashville for 20 years with the Girl Scouts. And I know an early experience in your life led you that direction, or at least made you a more passionate scout than maybe another girl that tried it and hung on
exactly.
for a couple of years.
So, born and raised in Mobile, Alabama, and joined the Girl Scouts as a child at the church that I attended. And the ladies at the church that I attended thought that these girls, especially the community I was raised in, they needed to really look at a different opportunity for their future and something to focus on. And so my Girl Scout troop, with the troop leaders at the Church of the Good Shepherd, they were constantly bringing in professional women to speak to us. Girls, if you do this, you can be a doctor. Girls, if you do this, you could be a teacher. I mean, it was just constant. And thanks to that, because my parents didn't have access to formal education, I thought, well, this is interesting. All you do is just keep going to school and you can become this, that, or that. So the Girl Scouts, because of where our troop was and where we lived, we didn't participate in cookies and we didn't have camps to go to. But what we did have with these determined women at my church to help us focus on your future is what you decide to make it. But one avenue of pursuing it is keep going to school, perform well. You can end up doing something like these role models that we brought in from. And that was really what my Girl Scout troop did. But it was important. It was important. So years later, when I got a phone call from them, it wasn't an immediate yes, because I didn't see myself working in the nonprofit sector. But the more they talked to me, I learned that nonprofit is nothing more than a different type of business sector. They needed leadership, and that leadership was very valuable in my consideration because I could take what I gained from working in corporate America, the tools I had gained in my MBA program, and then I just had the passion for it because it really was a great experience in my childhood. All of that combined is how I ended up there and enjoyed the work.
It's Banner and Company. I'm Demetria Kalodimos. We'll be right back.
Oh, such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
Shop Blinds.com right now and get up to 45% off select styles, plus a professional measure. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Let's back up just a little bit because you talk about school being the key, being the door to advancement. But your school experience was not ideal.
No.
You were the only black student in your school?
Yes. So back to the Girl Scout experience. I took school very seriously and became a very strong academic performer. In the public schools there in my neighborhood is where the majority of my K through 12 education took place. But the church that I referenced is an Episcopal church, and it was in the Central Gulf Diocese was where this Episcopal church was. Well, in the diocese, the church was funding an Episcopal school that was not integrated, and the bishop of the diocese reached out to this black Episcopal church and said, take some of your kids over there, and if they meet the standards for admission, then we will support the funding of them attending that school. So I'll never forget the priest of my church and his wife piled a bunch of us in their station wagon and took us to a Saturday exam and screening process at the school. And the priest got a phone call back a couple of weeks later and said, one of your kids did extremely well, and we will admit them to this school. And so thanks to the support of the Episcopal Diocese of the Central Gulf Coast, I entered St. Paul's Episcopal College Preparatory School as a freshman and was there for 4 years.
Now I'm picturing maybe like the blazer you're wearing in a uniform and sort of a very buttoned up environment.
Very buttoned up environment. And one that was not open arms and excited about me being there because everyone knew that I was scholarshiped into the school, and the rigor of the curriculum and everything was really very different. The support systems weren't there. It was very challenging. So the priest of the church and his wife decided early on in this, why don't you come live with us during the school term, and we will support and coach and prepare you to get to the other side of this experience. So it was with their guidance and direction and support that I was able to graduate from St. Paul's Episcopal. Yeah.
In one regard, you're treated as very special, but in another regard, it seems really lonely.
And it was horrible. It was very lonely. So much so that I was only invited one time, I can't remember when, to return to the school to speak. And I remember saying to the headmaster that called me, I welcome the opportunity only if you're going to welcome me being honest. And they said, we'll get back to you. So
Click.
I haven't heard back.
Wow.
But interestingly enough, I heard a very interesting email appeared in my inbox. A young black woman, is a teacher at the school today who attends the Church of the Good Shepherd. And one of the elders in the church were telling her, because, do you remember that kid that was the first black girl to go to that school, came from this church? She was like, never heard of it. So she started doing her research, and so I am going back as a guest. I'll be going back in April.
You think that'll be a reconciliation, or is it going to be a reckoning?
For them, I don't know what to hope for them. But for me, I will say that the lessons from my experiences there were hard learned, but they gave me great strength and backbone and independence in thinking, independence in how I approach myself, independence in how I approach my work, independence in how I approach the relationships that I've built along the way. I'm excited about going back. I'm excited to know that there have been such growth and improvements there. But I'm also excited to say that I stand to you as evidence that change is possible. I stand before you as evidence, and I like to share this all the time. I stand to you as evidence of hope in what is unseen. So yeah, I'm okay with going back. If I'd never gone back, I would have been fine. But for this young woman who did all this research and reached out to me, I'm really going back for her.
Right. And going back as the president of a premier HBCU, there's a lot of irony there in a way.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, really, isn't it? So it is a lot of irony in it. And the irony is that despite the culture of my experience there, despite all of that, it for me was a great education. It gave me great foundational tools that allowed me to enjoy the college years. It was, that's why I just sort of always say it is what it was. But I'm such an optimist. I just look for the good in everything. So I plucked out all the good from it, and I took it with me. But I did not have to look back on and constantly relive the way I was treated in the hallways, or everything that I tried out for. I could never seem to get anything. But 1 year, there was a breakthrough when I realized that I had been selected to participate in the production of a play. Nothing on stage, but I thought, well, you can learn about theater, and that has followed me for the rest of my life. So I don't, and I learned through those years, I don't and will not give anyone the power to take away from me what I want, and the school couldn't achieve that. But I got a lot out of it.
That is clearly evident. The Fisk opportunity. I read somewhere that you were shocked.
I was blown away.
Really?
Yeah, well, here's the deal. I was wrapping up my time with the Girl Scouts. I had made some great friendships in my doctoral program at Vanderbilt. And myself and a classmate and another had decided to work on a startup. We had put together the concept, the business plan, naming, got ourselves registered, and we were getting ready I was leaving the Girl Scouts to really go and work with them to start looking for some venture capital funds to help us knock this off. And I got a phone call from a search firm. But I thought the search firm was calling me because my doctoral dissertation was on African American women on corporate boards. I'm like, they're calling me because this search firm has this big reputation of doing corporate board search. I just knew that's why they were calling me. No, that isn't why they were calling me. They're like, your name came up for consideration for the presidency at Fisk University. Well, that was my reaction. And then they were like, hello, are you still there? I'm like, oh, no. So you're not calling me about a corporate board search? They're like, no, What made you think that? Because that's what you do. I'm like, but no, we have a huge higher ed division. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, I'm sorry, you want me to consider what now? And that's, I mean, literally, that's how how the conversation began. I was shocked. Now, I thought, I mean, I'll go along because most universities are still sort of in what I would call that traditional space where their presidents, may be doctoral, but they're out of the academy as well.
Right.
They've been steeped in research. They're steeped in other roles in higher ed.
Publications, pages long.
All of that and more. I am not of the academy, but I definitely know how to speak their language. And from one screening step, she called back and she goes, "Oh, they'd like to see you again." And I would go, "Are you sure that?" She goes, "Oh, next screening." She goes, "They'd like to see you again." I went, "I'm not believing this." 5 screenings, I think. By the 4th screening, I panicked. Because after that screening, when the firm called back, they said, "You're one of 2 finalists."
It got real.
Oh, I remember sitting there and said, "Can you give me 30 minutes? I need to call you back." Because I literally sat there. I haven't told anyone that because you don't want to be that person who goes, "You're not going to believe." And then you go, "You're not going to believe." I just thought, why not just leave it alone? So I hung up and I called my husband. He said, "Okay, the dog's going to catch the bus. Now what are you going to do?" Oh, geez. I said, "I haven't thought about it." So I called them back. I said, "Can I think about this overnight?" I said, because I really never expected today's phone call. So I thought about it overnight. And then I thought about things I enjoy doing because I'm passionate about them. I function better, and I've been really lucky, but I function better when I can work on things that have a personal connection to me or that I'm passionate about. You can't live in Nashville, Tennessee and not be passionate about Fisk. You can't be a young black girl from Mobile, Alabama and not know about Fisk. And then when I first moved to Nashville, I was a volunteer instructor over there. You can't. So I said, "Oh, yeah." So I went through the final screening. And then I thought, well, we'll see what happens next.
There had been quite a few people before you in sort of a rapid succession.
Oh, I know.
That's a little scary.
Oh, it's very scary. But you know how we optimists are. You got to stop the madness at some point. And I was I was brutally honest to that point exactly throughout the screening process, which surprised me that every time they kept bringing me back. It's like, listen, I live here in Nashville.
I know the
I'm
story.
seeing what's happening here every day. But there was one part of it after I thought about it overnight, trying to figure out, what to do. And that is, it was the language and the questions and engagement of the board members involved in the search. And I remember asking distinctly, who will be the board chair for this institution if I should end up in this job? Because it needs to be someone that if they're betting on me, I want to bet on them as well. Mm-hmm. And that's really what's made it so fabulous this time, is that I am confident and so excited that the university has a fabulous chair of the board that is a Fiskite, is a graduate of the school. And while for 2 totally different reasons, we're driven by this very same degree of passion. Now that I can work with all day and every day.
It's Banner and Company. My guest is Fisk University President, Dr. Agenia Clark. We'll be right back. Most Nashvillians cannot think of Fisk University without thinking first of the Fisk Jubilee Singers. The original 9-member choral group left campus on a tour to raise money for the newly founded school on October 6, 1871. Today, more than 150 years later, the Jubilee Singers keep that tradition alive. They'll play TPAC later this month, then travel for numerous performances throughout the year, including a West Coast tour in the spring. We were invited to listen in on a rehearsal earlier this week. And even just in the warm-ups, you can hear what makes the group special.
I love a pizza pie, big a bite of pizza, me oh my. Picking up a pepperoni pizza, lots of mozzarella and lots of pizza. I love a pizza pie.
I mean, come on. Who sounds that good singing about pizza? On this night, the singers were learning 2 new songs. Dr. G. Preston Wilson Jr. handed out the sheet music.
All right, so I'm going to give you 10 minutes. Yes. You're going to go over both pieces. Go to a practice room for 10 minutes. So be back in here I'll be nice. Be back in here at 6:30.
Even after that short time, they already sounded like this.
1, 2, 3.
Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart.
And I have to ask,
Yeah.
Are you a singer? And have you ever been invited to at least sit in with the Jubilee Singers? Or could you even hang?
Oh my gosh. Can I just say, the first time, my first day, full day at Fisk was on October the 6th, which is Jubilee Day. And I remember sitting there just listening to those voices, and I thought, maybe by the time I leave here, they'll let me stand on the stage with them in the back to the left behind the baritones, because they don't want to hear my voice. Never. I'm beautiful in the shower by myself. I
course.
can just whip them out. Oh, I have it. I mean, but no. You don't want to hear me singing.
But isn't it extraordinary that every year, I remember,
Dr.
interviewing
Kwame.
Dr. Kwame before he
Yes.
passed.
Yeah.
Every year, the right voices come forward.
So I had some, speaking of groups and individuals interested in investing in Fisk, I hosted a team of them several months ago that they flew in from different parts. And so it opened with me taking them into Jubilee Hall, into the Appleton Room. The director for the Jubilee Singers had the singers leave their classes, come into the Appleton Room. They took off their backpacks, sat them down. They stood up there. They sang 3 numbers. They got their backpacks and go back to their class. And the guest said, "Stop. You can't let them walk in here and pluck our souls out of our bodies with those voices without letting us get a picture. Can we get a picture with you all?" And it was so funny because they're students. They're not all majoring in music.
Right.
They're there for the other part of the experience of Fisk University, which goes back to what I was sharing earlier. It's a unique environment. And they come as students to Fisk, which qualifies them to audition to be a Jubilee singer. It's amazing,
Yeah, what a dream.
isn't it? Oh, geez. Well, that is one dream for me that will come true, but you will not hear my voice.
You know, those of us who have lived in Nashville for a long
Mm-hmm.
time, you know, we celebrate, of course, the Jubilee Singers, which is
Yeah.
Fisk's NFL
Yeah.
football team, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the one thing that
Yeah.
that they know as a champion from start
Yeah.
to finish.
Yeah.
But I also remember, you know, the days of not being able to pay the light bill, and then the
yeah.
big controversy
Oh, yeah.
with the art
Artwork.
collection.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, to raise money.
Yeah.
Why do you think that the tribulations of Fisk
Mm-hmm.
seem to be more magnified than its successes?
You know, that's a fabulous question because I ask myself that all the time, and it's really fascinating as I've been sort of, retelling the Fisk story throughout our community and in other communities. People are always surprised by some of the things that I may share with them. I think it's always, and especially in today's environment with social media and easy access to information, it is a lot more fun. It's just more fun. It's more fun to just create a salacious headline. I'm going to be honest. No one is equally as excited or as interested in hearing about the professor I had lunch with today, who is sharing with me his newest publication. And that same professor is talking to me about some research he's done with our students. And one of the students' byline would be a part of the byline of the publication of that. See, that is why Fisk is still there. But those stories just are not that interesting. They're just not. Now they are to me. I just get so excited when the faculty will stop, and they'll tell me something they're doing or what they're working on. Because think about it, why are they there?
Right.
And they're there because the culture is so interesting. The professors and the students are there to truly lift each other up. It's just a fabulous place to be.
You talk about small. How is enrollment? Is
Oh,
it up?
And yeah, we have over 1,000 students. So let's talk about enrollment.
Okay.
So Fisk is pretty much landlocked in about 40 acres of land, sort of the original footprint of when the Fisk Jubilee Singers came back off of their third tour and was able to help them secure land. Because of the Fisk Jubilee Singers, our first building was built in 1870 and we're still using it. So the campus is in a historical overlay.
Right.
So I have sort of restrictions, but they're good restrictions based on the nature of who we are, who we have been, and now who we see ourselves in the future. I've been going through a fabulous series of conversations on campus with students and faculty and staff, and I'm getting ready to go to present the Fisk University Campus Master Plan to the board in March. And basically what has come out of all of these conversations, Fisk University would like to one day be serving an undergraduate enrollment of 1,500 students. Because anything beyond that, Fisk University won't be known for what it's known for. That intimate, collegial, academic culture where the undergraduate student to professor ratio is 10 to 12. It is an environment that nurtures these passions for an enrollment body that's 90% plus financial aided, that's 60% plus Pell Grant, which means these students are coming from homes like mine when I went to St. Paul's Episcopal. It's not that your parents don't love you and don't want to see you do well. They don't have the resource of understanding what that looks like. So after all of these conversations, We don't see ourselves being 10,000 students in 5 years. No, because that will eat away at what Fisk has always been. And even when you can't pay the utility bills, those students continue to stay, continue to come because of the uniqueness of who and what Fisk is. So the conclusion was, let's not tamper with that. Let's continue to do what's kept us here over 150 years, because look at all of the changes that have happened in that time. And we're still here. I think we'll be here another 150 years by staying committed to who and what the institution started as.
You know, so many of our local universities are seeing incredible gifts from celebrities, from estates. Here's your appeal.
Yeah,
To get people to
and
is someone out there that could make a transformational gift?
Absolutely, and hopefully they're listening to this. I think the issue has been that you have to have a leader in place that can talk about all the elements of Fisk and what makes it a good investment. I don't want you to invest in Fisk just because you think you're writing a charity check. I want you to invest in Fisk because it stands for something that you stand for and you believe in, and that is access to education. Everyone that wants to invest in that, this is a tool by which to do it, because you will walk into the middle of that campus and you can just stand there and you can actually see it. You can walk into the cafeteria and you can feel it. You can walk into the residence halls and you'll understand. You're investing in the sustainability of a model that is not about bells and whistles, but it's a sustainability and an investment in a model that is really investing in humanity. Again, despite everything, you're so dead on, the economic impact to Fisk still remains very high. What is the economic impact of Fisk? Small little place, 1,000 students, but that economic impact is huge in 37208.
Does the master plan include new construction?
So the board hadn't seen it yet.
Okay.
It's in March, and it does. The master plan addresses existing buildings, historic, existing buildings, non-historic, and new construction. But also it addresses, in new construction projects, how do we shore up these areas that have truly allowed us to expand our reach academically. And so it kind of, this has been a fun first year, mainly because of that.
Banner and Company is a production of the new Nashville Banner. Our producers are Steve Harouche and Andrea Tudhope. Original music by Verlin Thompson. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or go to NashvilleBanner.com. You're in good company. Final question is in the fishbowl there.
Yeah.
It's up to you to choose it. It came from a previous guest.
Oh.
So take your pick and
You just picked
give it a shot. Yeah.
Oh.
And tell us who that's from.
Oh, from Tessa Limos del Pino. Who's
the hero we need today?
Every time I have conversations with students, I'll do these informal conversations. We'll bring in 8 to 12 students. I'll just do informal conversations with them. And I'll never forget this one student who I will say is probably my hero. She's a senior this year. Her dream is to go to law school. At an event at Fisk, her mother was there. She's my hero, this student, because I said to her mom that evening as we was walking away, I went back and I said, by the way, she's going to end up being a Supreme Court justice. I just know that. I said, so when she becomes one, don't forget to call and invite me, because I'd like to be there. So I'm lucky in my job. I meet heroes every day just listening to these students. So to me, the heroes for me are the ones that aren't there yet, but I know they're coming. They're coming. And a lot of them are going to be from Fisk.